It's time for Two Guys and a Girlie.
Hello, and welcome to Two Guys and a Girlie, a live stream conversation every Sunday at 2:30 on YouTube and the Facebook. Conversation amongst...
You said it like an old person. The Facebook. Everybody does that.
No, I did that on purpose. I did that on purpose.
Oh, did you really? Oh, okay.
I did. Yeah, I can't use hand gestures, Clark.
Hey,
But,
Nick, she said something about I got to be more something. So, okay. Sorry, did I say that?
Anyway, let's start it over.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. This is a conversation that's live streaming on YouTube and Facebook with myself, Denise, aka Girlie, aka Girlie on the Edge, and with me in the studio here for your listening pleasure are Clark, and Nick, my two guys. How are you today?
Hi.
All right.
Πάρα πολύ καλά. Πολύ καλά.
So anyway, I want to remind viewers and listeners, this is conversation like with the world.
Oh man, hey Nick, compliments on the backdrop. We like it warp drive. I like the color thing in the back of you. Excellent. I interrupted again, didn't I? I guess that's
you did. Why don't you take it, Clark? Take it. What do you got today?
Okay.
Everybody knows that it's a lot more fun to interrupt than actually have to carry something.
Yes.
So I may have to get up periodically. It being cold here in Eastern Oceania, which is my affectation on the doctrine for referring to North America. I call it Oceania, which is from one of those books that everybody's supposed to have read. Hello, Anna. So it's kind of cold, so I started a fire downstairs in the appropriate metal container.
Oh, man.
Hi, Anna.
Hello. Anna, how's it going?
Glad to have you with us. I will tell you one thing about Anna. She has the most contagious smile I have ever seen in my life.
Excellent.
Contagious as a yawn, huh?
No, yawn has nothing on her smile.
Well,
ever since she was a child, she had that gift, among other things. So glad to have you with us, and hope we'll make it worth your time.
Way to manage expectations there, Nick. So what is the wonderful things that you're going to tell everybody to expect from us?
From us?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing. We are going to discuss, I think, carry over some topics last week. But in general, it's conversation about all sorts of things, writing, self-development, using writing even towards that end, music. We touch on music, film. That's the hint, you guys, for the end of the show, and for viewers and listeners.
And we do this thing about movie recommendations at the end. Don't tell them I told you.
No.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So yes, Anna, by the end of the show, we have a dedicated section about that. So.
And you totally need to submit a recommendation. Otherwise, geez,
yes,
what will happen?
You will be fined $10 for each time you want to be.
So we did not do previously on the previous episode of Two Guys and a Girlie. On the previous, one of the things, Clark, that you mentioned that we all liked pertaining to the writing aspect, part of our conversation, was Frank H's comment. If it weren't for my inner critic, I wouldn't make any revisions.
Yeah.
So we have that. You, Clark, the concept of mining our personal histories for emotional content, And then how we relate, I guess, to our characters. That I'd like to get into more.
Yeah.
Before that, what's your weather like there, Nick?
Sorry?
What's your weather doing out there? Over there?
It's becoming more winter-like, but it's not the typical weather anymore.
A friend of mine's from, his parents are from Greece. And he said in the last few years, it's crazy, like snowstorms. Yes. And you did one. You did one yes. over on on the cafe or somewhere.
Yes.
About what the hell is this white shit?
Yes. For Attica, it's not typical. And now 2 or 3 years in a row, we have around January or early February, a huge. You see the picture of me with ice over my beard and everything, whiten out. And the other problematic thing that we don't take account is the rainfall has decreased significantly.
Yeah, because over here we have where I'm located, southern New England, actually almost on the coastline. We benefit by the Gulf Stream, which runs up the coast south to north, and so we, within a fairly surprisingly broad band, a snow event will be rain simply by the effect of the warmer ocean air coming inland and changing over the snow into rain. So, well, you guys don't have that in the Mediterranean effect?
Everyone is affected by the Gulf Stream. It's supposed to be the main
conveyor belt of gifts.
Yes. The problem is that some areas see the effects of that not working properly earlier than others. And one very characteristic example is India. I mean, India, the northern parts that are directly below Himalaya. So when the warm draft hits the Himalayan mass, it goes upward, it gets cooled, and then it goes around. Hi, Panos. Glad to have you with us. Hi.
Greetings.
And they have terrible droughts for enough years. So if they don't get rain that they are at the foothills of Himalaya, then there is a problem for everyone. Yeah. But we will gradually see it, unfortunately.
So I have to ask you, Nick, I was unaware until last week that Greece gets earthquakes, like it's not an uncommon event. And I was totally unaware.
Frequently.
And as a frequency, has that gotten weird too, like the number of earthquakes?
No, what happened recently was a new rift was activated that hasn't been before. At the Attica region. Other than that, the earthquake is a common companion in Greece.
Wow.
Forever, because of the location. The only thing that it's different, and I'm not going into the terminology because I may mess that up, is the type of earthquakes. For example, you see videos at earthquakes in Japan that everything bounces up and down. When the earthquake happens. Here it's like that. It's they have a name for the type of earthquakes, but I'm not I cannot recall it now. So when the earthquake happens in Tokyo, you see the offices and everything bounce up and down. That's the way the tectonic plates react there. Here, what we get is a big right to the left sidewards movement. And then it has to do with the tectonic plates and the way they crash to each other. So, but earthquake is a common denominator in Hellas, for sure. We'll see. We'll see. So, how about start with, let's say, whatever you want. You want to start with Frank's discussion or go into the mining of our personal history? What do you want?
I don't know.
Do any of our guests have any questions? They see you know everybody better than I do, Nick, because you have that kind of personality. If the names, I don't do names and faces very well. If they're new here or not, a brief.
Anna is her first time here with us, and Panos has been a couple of times.
Oh, okay. And you came back, dude.
Yes, yes. Okay. He's a brave dude, for sure.
Any questions?
The fact alone that he hangs out with me, it's brave. It's a sign of bravery alone. That. So let's start with something. Denise, it's up to you.
Oh, up to me. Excellent.
Yeah.
Just
you want to start with how we mine our personal experience with characters? Can you?
Well, yeah,
state that. Sure. Let's go into that.
It's kind of a given, I think, that all of us who do, Michael, that we do. I mean, I would think that is kind of a first resource that we have. I mean, it's readily available when we think back on experiences. But I was thinking about it earlier this morning, doing that for the obvious.
We'll try. We'll try. We can guarantee.
No pressure there. None whatsoever. No pressure.
See,
yeah. This will be scintillating. This will be educational and hopefully.
National Geographic and History Channel has nothing on us. I'm telling you.
This is a tough crowd, man. I'm not ready for this.
Cancel the subscription to either. Let's go.
But actually, wait a minute. So what would be a question? I think we should take questions from the audience.
That's a dodge. That's a total dodge. Oh,
it is. And I thought I did it pretty darn well.
Cue the dog.
For sure. Let me say it one more time, although Denise or Clark will say it much more eloquently than me. Our ambition here is to create a discussion with you. It's not for you to sit there and look, observe us talking. This is our ambition, to engage in a live conversation. So be free.
Interactive, for sure. This is an interactive experience.
Let's take advantage of that technology. That's our idea. Otherwise, we would be posting videos of 3 of the discussions ourselves having among us and post the video. That's not our ambition. Our ambition is to engage in conversation. So as Clark said, and Denise and me, we are open to anything you might want to suggest, apart from what we are already hinting as topics.
I'll go first. So, what's the design on your sweater?
Nick, you,
Nick. I'm going first with questions. So your sweater design. Is that a design or what?
No, that's not a sweater, first of all.
Well, I was trying to keep it highbrow, Nick. I was trying to keep
but
it highbrow.
I don't know what it's just. You want to see the design of it?
No, is it Oribus or is it something cool or?
You mean like the snake that eats its tail? It shows like this. No, it's not. It's just
like alien. It's got that alien.
No. It seems like that. It's just a typical Chinese ornament. Nothing much. But if you want to talk about my sweater, okay, let's talk about my sweater. Here, take some design. You want? How is that for a design?
I'm going to give you. Thank you, Nick. Okay. Thank you, Nick, because my movie recommendation.
Yes.
Oh, we're way ahead of it. Oh, is it
I already have my. No, we're not doing it now.
I can guess. I'll write it down here. Hold on.
Yes, write it down and at the end, because seeing that, Nick.
Bruce Lee.
Wow, kind of a coincidence on what I was going to.
All right.
Absolutely.
Big minds.
I've got it right here, written down. You can't look.
Okay.
Okay, and I can't see it. Okay, good. Okay, cool. All right, let's skip over that.
Denise, please do me a favor. Let's get over my sweater. Okay, Clark. Okay, you're saying back and forth. Yeah. No, I'm not saying you. Let's. Please, can you restate what we were talking about? The topics
what were we talking about, Nick? Come on.
No,
Not
no, no,
really.
no more backhands.
Something, it's
No more
something,
backhands.
something not
Just-
in the something not in the category of Nick. I think you were going for the mining of.
The mining.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
What you said. Yes.
And because why not? Because
Why not?
Can you
Exactly.
restate the topic, because I think some
5,000
Michael
years.
and Panos haven't heard of the topic because they came a few minutes
Well-
later. Can you restate the topic, please?
oh, sure. It's going into, so in writing and in creative writing and especially for 6-sentence stories, the blog hop that I host and you guys participate in, and many viewers and listeners do. So we have a word, and so story, what am I going to write about? And that's one of the easier things sometimes, is to just go back into experiences that are very memorable for ourselves, for myself, funny one, or something kind of scary, or maybe even one where, self-revelation that was significant in my life, and kind of revisit and use that energy that just from revisiting it, and kind of channel it into a newer story, into just using it, see if characters emerge, how wow, I can't speak today, so
Good thing we're on live, huh?
pardon me.
Good thing we're on live. And beaming
Absolutely.
across the
That
world. They say there's 500 billion people out there watching. Well, potentially watching. 500 million. 500 million.
Okay. Well, we to have half of that, sure. That would make
5,000 years of human history.
Yeah.
Countless deaths, suffering, all to get a technology that allows you to say, "Hey, by the way, we don't have an English language readily available."
No. I'll fumble until I fall on my face.
You will?
Oh, God.
Thank you.
Λοιπόν,
Thank you.
θα αρχίσω να
Luckily,
μιλάω
no.
ελληνικά. Θα αρχίσω να μιλάω ελληνικά, Clark.
All right, let's get
Μου φαίνεται
serious.
θα αρχίσω να μιλάω ελληνικά, αφού μιλάμε για γλώσσες.
He's telling jokes.
No.
Oh,
it sounds Greek to you, eh?
it does. Actually, it did.
Yeah. Denise, if you allow me to intersect that language, since Clark is talking about language, a teacher of mine, a very loved one, she got wind of the stream and she sent me a message. And essentially that message somehow alleviated my obvious, not top-notch talking in English language. My writing, I think it's another story, okay? It's in an inadequate level. My speech, my talking is not, because I don't practice it. But what she said and reminded me of is that out of the 6,500 languages that exist on planet Earth, as far as UNESCO goes and counts them, there are only 2 languages that possess a unique equality in human history, which is to be continuous from their discovery till now, and to have a written presence and usage for 3,500 years at least. And these 2 languages are only the Chinese language and the Hellenic language. You won't hear me say Greek, you know that, okay? Because we are not Greeks, we are Hellenes. Greek is a term that was coined during the Ottoman, when we were under the Ottoman Empire. We are Hellenes, so it's for me. You will hear me say Hellenic or Hellas, and but I mean what everyone else says as Greek. So the only 2 languages that have this continuity and what that entails is only the Hellenic and the Chinese. Now, one would think, why on earth are we not using as a universal language one of these two? With all the benefits a language that has been evolved for 3,500 years has. And that's another story. So thank you, my dear teacher, for reminding me the benefits of having a language as the Hellenic as a mother language. Thank you. So that's the language, parenthesis. See, I'm good in parenthesis too, Clark. Yes?
Your second language is probably better than my second language.
Yeah. It's not So let's get back to it. Denise, Clark, I would like to hear your opinion before I speak about this matter, and I will explain why. Because my opinion about this matter won't be as a writer. It will be as an artist primarily. So I would like to hear both your opinions about mining, our personal experience, before I go into mine and evolve the discussion. That's the only reason I'm saying that.
Sure. Denise, are you ready to step up to that? Or
she did.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh, you did. Okay. Yeah, the mining of the personal history is kind of funny. Side note. I'm also working on looking at the camera. Do I look like I'm looking at you directly? Because in real life,
yes.
I wouldn't be. Which brings us to the thing that I would say about when it comes to the Wakefield Doctrine and Clark's and all. We don't do certain things very well, eye contact and et cetera. And that has a bearing on mining what mining a personal history, how it manifests with me in the context of writing. I'm generally mining the emotion as opposed to mining the episode, incidents, events, and history itself. And it's an interesting thing in that the idea of emotion in emotional content we use as a phrase in writing is very much detectable, sort of like gravity and dark energy. It's by inference. And so for me, I will tend to write in a certain way, but I've noticed that when I can touch on a past event that was particularly charged with energy, which emotional content, the story ends up being different and more to the point, more widely perceived as, hey, boy, oh boy, what a good story. Which is not to say all of the rest of them aren't good, but there's a quality that I can detect, again, by inference. Mm-hmm. So the idea of looking back now, there are two other types of people, Rogers and Scotts. And for Rogers, by the way, there's a personality type thing that I always will refer to as the Wakefield Doctrine. It's got 3 personality types. Everybody's one of the 3. You can find it elsewhere. This isn't being a doctrine curator. Thank you. But the idea of the other one, the one of the 3 that manifests as the emotional side of life, human, naturally writes well. Because, and we used to say, Denise will recall, in the early days of this blog that I have, is that we detected that in Rogers because they wrote in what we called smooth, well-rounded words, which is a fun way to describe a sort of natural storytelling. Stephen King's an example of that. His stories, when you take them apart, they're not particularly different, but they're familiar. They're the kind of thing that you can imagine sitting around and hearing, and that's awfully cool and commercially viable. I mean, he sells a ton of books like that. So, being a Clark, I don't have the direct access to that kind of thing. So the idea of going back and looking into the past. And this ties into what Denise might be alluding to with the effort to self-understand yourself, to self-improve. I'm of the opinion, as I suspect she is, it involves going back there. It isn't the answer back there, but it has to involve accounting for things. So that's where I come down on mining of personal history. And then the other funny thing, which is no longer funny, I was going to lead with, which was, I remember when I started to read about writing, and if anybody out there entertains the notion of, oh, I'd love to learn to write better and do all of this, don't read anything. Don't read any of the books or advice about how to do it, because that'll put me off for like 3 weeks while I recover from the holy smoke. What you are capable isn't even tying your shoes for real writing. But in the early days, I came up across somebody talking about person POV and saying that most new writers, including myself, gravitate to the first person because it feels like the easier of the voices to execute in a story. And they went on to say, unfortunately, most people aren't very interesting. Oh, yeah, shit. So I still go back to it because I think with Denise too, it's the idea of playing your part, maybe in a Halloween sense. Okay, I could be this character, except it's not really me. It's me who I might have thought of being at some crazy point in my life.
Sure, or our idealized self. Or I think that's why, speaking of POV, Clark, the first versus the third, that I vacillate in, and I've gotten to enjoy the third person. And perhaps that ties into what you were just speaking of. My term is the self-evolution. So my self-evolution, if I can speak in the third person through a character, analyzing, dramatizing, using past events in this new character, maybe a little bit easier than going first person. First person I. Wow, do I really want to fictionalize my attempt at looking at aspects of myself and creating a character who works through those things to evolve to a likable character.
Now, I wonder how much, let me interrupting a bit, how many of the books and the experts will insist, no, a real writer makes up people, makes up characters. You can make up a setting, but for characters, they make them up because they're real writers. I got a feeling that that's less true than some quarters of the community would want.
They can't. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No.
They can't be completely made up. That doesn't even, in a way, make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. It's our imagination. We're creating. Yeah.
Totally agree.
I remember one quote from Stephen King that says that, talent is good to have some if you want to be a good writer, but he thinks the main thing is to remember every scar you have.
Every what?
Every scar.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So Denise, what you're saying is that the third person point of view creates a distance from your character that enables you to observe it and in effect be more easily introduced into the self-evolving aspect that may follow or may not after the story.
Sure,
Right.
sure. The objectivity is there to the attempt to objectively look at maybe the character is handling something badly or aspiring to something, greater than that character believes they're able to achieve something, or introducing conflict. We're supposed to introduce conflict into our stories and the resolution of that conflict. So in a sense, yeah, third person would allow, or from my perspective, to do that.
Let me ask you something else then. And Clark, do you have a live audio of the stream somewhere? Because I'm getting a lot of loop noise in the stream.
No, I turned my volume down. I'm getting feedback. I got feedback.
Yeah. From somewhere.
Hold on. Yeah, that was me.
Oh, was it? No, I'm hearing everything actually surprisingly well.
No worries. So why do we relate the first person point of view as not just a tool of narration of writing a story, but as a more personal point of view than the third person point of view, POV?
Can I interject with that, Nick?
I don't know if I make sense.
You do that, but it just also made me think that those experienced writers, the Stephen Kings, they are those characters. They already are. I think there are people who can write them that, sure, there's got to be some bit of themselves in that, but writing it first person as that character. So I am that character.
But I think that the skill and the effort comes into expanding beyond, I could be a detective, pulp fiction kind of detective as Ian Devereaux. I would like to see him as, but the fun and challenge is to not just be me wearing those clothes.
No, yeah.
It's, all right, what kind of thing would, I'd never do that. Can I make him do?
Sure.
Yes. What I'm trying to understand, and then maybe it's not a valid question, but it's a sincere one. We are kind of agreeing, and we are going to go deeper into the creator has a direct line about the creation, the characters. Okay, he already has. Let's say we agree on that. So then my returning question is, why is the one point of view more or less connected to the bond the writer has with its characters? As far as I am going, is it's just two tools. Let's see what our friend's saying. Panos says, I'm wondering about the strength of emotion in the third person writing.
Excellent question. Yeah.
And Anna says, I'm a huge fan of Stephen King. That being said, I strongly believe that the carefully uses bits of himself. Yes, in his characters. Yes, and he has repeatedly said that, Anna. That's why he said the quote I said earlier, remember your scars, and he's using his scars creatively. So we have two inputs. The emotion, the strength of emotion in third person POV. Is it diminished? Is it diminished to your experience by the third person POV or not?
I'd say it's a technical issue, skill issue, which I don't.
Valid.
I mean, I'm at the level to where I can believe that I can imbue first person with more than. But I'll take it back, even as I said it. Jesus. No, I bet you I wouldn't. I bet you I'd have a tougher time doing direct emotional content for a first person character than I would a third.
Do you think that when we write in first person, that creates like a quicksand place that we sink inside it as far as emotional content goes? I mean, are we the writers to blame?
A Clark personality type wouldn't. fall into
Wouldn't.
that. Roger might. Roger might. That's an interesting angle of that.
What I mean is, are we the ones who decide to charge the first person view as more personal than the third person point of view can be? What, in other words, somehow I think that if we are connected with our characters, then we can use both point of views to carve our characters vividly, with the benefits and the difficulties each point of view has.
Hmm.
I don't know, because
That's
for
a-
me,
That's
Yeah,
an
sorry.
interesting point, Nick. Because Clark, I think I mentioned-
maybe it doesn't apply to writing. I will tell you again why after you, Denise. But that's what happens in my mind as I listen to you, because I'm listening that your first point of view is not generally used as simply a tool. It becomes more personal out of the gate.
I think initially it can be, and we try to overcome that drive to keep it personal as we develop our efforts.
Denise, sorry, I interrupted you before.
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
No, it was just from a technical thing that a method that I use sometimes with certain stories is to more so starting with third. But if I start with the first and I'll write it, I'll put the pronoun in parentheses to get a glimpse of how the story is evolving, how it sounds to me, how it writes, how it plays out, first person or third, just as a method. And so sometimes I've switched. Absolutely. I begin in first person. I start throwing in that third person pronoun and then decide, no, which then goes to affecting tense and different technical aspects. But yeah, that's
so let's connect this back to the mining of personal experiences. So my point of view, you've seen more than one of the stories I have written that goes in first person point of view. Usually when I use my character, the Six Sentence Cafe and Bistro, Nick the Gatekeeper, right? More of them are in first person point of view. So before I will tell you why I find it more easy to do that and more organically flowing to do that. Because, as I have said before, I'm not equipped with a technical knowledge about writing. And that's why I say sometimes I'm not a writer. I'm at the best the sigh of a writer. So I remember, Clark and Denise, when you were encouraging me to write, and I said that the only way I might try it is the way I create my art. And again, what happens is I write the same way I create my sculptures or whatever. I have not been taught any methodology of creating my art. It comes from some reason from inside, under certain circumstances that were used as a catalyst. And out of that situation, my artistic identity came forth. So in order to create as an artist, I have to be at the place emotionally or intellectually that my creation lives. That's why I'm saying when I created Inferno, based on Dante's Commedia, I lived in 6 months in hell, every way possible, because that's the only way I could create my art. I couldn't think of my holidays during the summer and sculpture Inferno. That's how I'm only capable of creating something. And that's the same thing that happens with writing. I have to be in the place of my story and then bring it as ink on paper. Now, whether that means that I mine my personal experience and transform them into a story, that's another aspect of the creative process. Yes, mainly, I believe in a certain degree, we all do that. Sometimes quite consciously, like Clark, you said, we take an event of or an experience from our past life and we transform it into a story, or subconsciously. We think we're creating out of nothing a character, but maybe in retrospect we find similarities with our past experiences. So I don't think we are ever disengaged completely from our emotional and structure.
Yeah.
There is always like a little stamp, a little stamp at the foot of the sculpture underneath that shows it's made by Clark. You may not see it unless you pick up the statue and look underneath it. It's not on the forehead of the statue, but it's there. You know what I'm saying?
It has to. It has to be. I think it brings to mind back in school days. And especially back in those days, the idea of dream interpretation. How do you interpret it? I was in psych major. And the one I always kept coming really, really liked was Fritz Perls, who was one of the big guys in the existentialist movement back then. And his approach was simply, hey, act out take a dream, be that person, be that role. And the underlying reasoning was, hey, your dream. So it's not like there's some objective thing necessarily coming in and assigning characters and scripts. So he would have these poor guys sitting, because they did a couple of tapes, this is back in the 60s, and they would, to deal with dreams, they would simply be asked to become this person, react, tell us about it. And awful lot of fun. And it makes sense, because who else's dream is it? Same with stories. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. Like putting yourself into your character's shoes. Yes. That's what we are debating about.
And that's the hardest part, isn't it, Tom?
It is.
The fashion thing.
No,
seriously.
Hey, we know some of your fashion favorites. We know some of the designers.
Christian. I like Christian because women's fashion for a guy is like total Sanskrit, I guess. I'm assuming everybody's like me, but man, other than she had on a dress or a hat or Christian Louboutin, I totally stay away from the whole what were you wearing kind of thing. Thank God for Savoy Lane for me, because I can say bespoke in one or two names, and I'm comfortable writing that. But
so you know what we are talking hedges on. I don't know. I'm inclined to go with the opinion expressed by several writers. Name dropping doesn't serve any purpose. That say that writing has to come out of necessity to be writing. And by necessity, they mean, okay, ask yourself, do I want to write a story, a character? Can I live if I don't write that character, that story? How strong is the urge for these characters to come forth and be alive? And they argue, if you don't feel that urge, that almost organic necessity to pick up your pen or your keyboard and start writing, then don't do it.
Wait a minute, but don't you potentially miss out on something if you have just the inkling? There's not this driving, I have to write this character, but what if that character that makes you really want to is in its most basic form? Maybe you haven't recognized that character yet. It's that path of discovery through draft writing, I think. And again, to the technical side, I've had stories switch out to something different and a character change because of that. So I don't know. Are we not?
You are already writing. You are writing, and you're evolving.
I mean, I understand that.
I'm talking before you take your blank page and your pen and start writing the first word. Before. So, what makes you do that? Because yes, I agree with what you're saying.
And I understand what you're saying. Sure.
Yes, but they say, and I am again primarily as an artist, but generally as a person, I would say, I don't like labels. I'm inclined to go towards that direction. If every time I pushed myself, no, you're going to do this because you have to, the result wasn't not only authentic, it wasn't any good. And parenthesis, I'm not advocating that I should sit on an armchair all day waiting for the inspiration to come and then one day start creating a masterpiece. No. Hard work every day is needed. But essentially, even to do the mundane stuff, the everyday stuff about whatever you're dealing with, I believe there has to be a strong urge inside that motivates you to say, I have to do this. And I'm talking about writing again only now. I'm not expanding everywhere.
Sure. So wouldn't you have to ask the question, writing? So you're writing, you're getting resistance on something, or I don't want to, just don't want to. Ask yourself, why not? What is the why? Why is there resistance? It can be simple. That's wow. Who wants to take that question?
All of us.
Yes, Anna. Yes.
I tell you, Anna, don't hold back.
Well, wait a minute. Wait. We're letting her off too easy. What do you think, Anna? Good question.
For your question, yes, she will give an answer, but till she types her answer, we have to discuss.
Her question is the answer?
No.
Isn't artistic creator? Essentially, she's saying that artistic creator in general is the fulfillment of some kind of need. Yes, the opposite thing would be, let me see the statistics. What is trendy now? What is trending? Ashtrays. Okay, I will go at my workshop and create ashtray because Clark made the one and sold it for $500,000. So I will make one. I don't see an inner need in that. I just think following a trend. So let me see what Anna says. Having in mind several artists I admire, I have to come to that conclusion. Yeah, I believe it also that the commercial result or renown of any writer or artist is something that a stage that follows what we are discussing. We are discussing I think, the driving force behind overcoming what Clark said. Oh, my stuff is rubbish. I won't touch the pen. I won't put a word on my blank page. What is the force that makes you overcome that inner critic we were discussing last episode?
Yeah, it has to be worth it on one level or another over a certain baseline time or another, or you wouldn't, and I love that quote somebody once I read and said a long time ago, I hate writing, I love having written.
Yeah.
and that's like, okay, that's the whole thing. But that the equation still has to come out positive for some baseline, or you'll learn to play the saxophone or something. It's or maybe not. Maybe maybe we look at this whole class of people, that creativity thing, and I'm of the opinion that there's a huge divide in personal realities of those who would enjoy entertaining alternate perspectives. We used to say that at the doctrine a long time ago, is that the idea is this is another reality / perspective. It's fun, it's useful, etc. Talking to some people, you'll find that, wait a minute, no. The closest they can come to accepting alternate perspective is, yeah, Nick doesn't know he's wrong about that because it's not fitting into their perspective, singular perspective. And the sad thing is that most of those people who can't make that simple step out of their own do it largely because the fear is telling them, hey, wait a minute, real is real. You go adding in alternate perspectives, realities, you might lose what you got. And I'm betting big percentage of the general population is in that category. Then on the category of us, because we're lucky humans, within that, there's levels of drive, I'll bet, that says that, all right, I'm good at that. I mean, I took piano lessons when I was a kid because that's what you were supposed to have done. And it wasn't, okay, I got good enough to make me believe I could get better, but not enough to care to actually do it. It wasn't, the return wasn't there. But when we find something that the return is, the greater it is relative to the cost of how many times they're going to try to write this freaking thing. But if it comes out on the plus, we tend to do it. And then guys, and I've seen quotes like the one you were referencing, Nick, out there. And there's a few of them are kind of Rogerian in that they're, if you aren't this, then you better just not write. No. A large percentage of people like to do that. But the idea of why do we, this group of 5-8 people, I bet you we all have that not enough creative urge to actually go and do something besides watch TV. And, and then you're down to, okay, how much can you fight? And I think conversations like this goes a long way to alter that equation. Because if I know that you and everybody else runs into the same, no, you suck, don't do it, then that diminishes the power of my inner critic enough. So maybe I'll do it a little longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are not talking about echo chambers. We're not talking about reinforcing our own beliefs by hanging out with people who say, yes, you're absolutely right. We're not talking about that. What Facebook, for example, is essentially is right now, a big echo chamber that everyone creates his own group of people that reinforce the belief that their perspective on facts or on the world is the only true one. And that's a loop, a feedback loop. We're not talking about that. We're talking about adding to our perspectives. And as Clark, you said, even this thing we're doing right now, it's an art form for me. Being engaged in a conversation in a meaningful way, not in a way of winners and losers, is an art form, apart from a glorious human endeavor.
Glorious. Okay.
It is a glorious because to be able to get out of your shoes and go in Clark's shoes or in Denise's shoes or Anna's, Panos, Michael's, and
Tom's Christian Ludens.
Yeah, they might give me a bit of a trouble, but I will try them. So it's
Tom, I have to go for it. What can I say?
It's a huge win-win situation, and that's the problem, as we've discussed earlier, that we are not keen to adding to our perspectives. Not at all.
Well, and I'll blame you for it because I know we're running late, but that keys into one of my favorite things when in discussions like this, the idea of social interactions as non-transactional. And I've appropriated the word used with other people of identification. And the idea of identification, in my understanding, is that if I hear you talk about art and I know how you feel, then I've gained. But it's non-transactional because it isn't. No, Clark, you don't even have to know I'm identifying with you, and I'm still going to come away plus on the benefit side. And how can you?
That's a huge insight. That's a huge insight, Claire. I don't think we can repeat that enough to be soaked in our minds. The non-transactional nature of that thing. That's a huge insight. In my book, because essentially everything we do is.
Well, I'm saying to Reno on her 6 this week was the idea that we're all pretty much brought up to the idea that it is a transaction. And you don't really have the option of saying no to the salesman, or that somebody says something. And 99% of the time, it is intended as a transaction. I will ask, I will tell, I will give you this, and then what are you going to do? Walk away? And the answer is you kind of can, but we're not brought up that way. Generally speaking.
Exactly. Yes. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's why I believe strongly that alone is a huge benefit of that thing of ours and of any a non-transactional relationship.
Yeah, it's as important as movie recommendations.
Yes, and I'm very curious, Clark, as to your guess.
Yeah. Now,
someone has his eyes on the clock, so.
Okay.
Since you have your eye on your clock.
Yeah, the one latest here is always one doing that.
Yeah.
So
how do
what's
you do
your
the
guess?
thing that I will guess? I'll take a chance since there's only the current, so I can be wrong. I'm guessing your thing you were thinking of earlier, for anybody who wasn't here, Denise saw Nick's t-shirt and said something to the effect that reflects on my movie choice. And I'm going to say Silence of the Lambs.
No. A huge no. I've never seen. I've never watched.
Just to help me be comfortable with being wrong in front of the whole world. Thank you for that.
But I can have your livers with some Chianti anytime.
I hate that scene so much. Why do
I love that scene.
Chianti.
I love that scene. Chianti.
Jeez.
I love that scene.
Anyway,
with fava beans in some Chianti.
Well, fava, that's correctly pronounced, right? Chianti is not Chianti, it's Chianti.
It's Chianti to your. For me, it's Chianti. And I don't care how it's pronounced. I only want to drink it.
Yeah. Here's overdone.
So is it Enter the Dragon?
Is it what? No,
it's not. So,
anybody have? No. What do you got?
There was a dragon in
my movie. Okay,
Yeah.
you ready?
Yes.
Hero with Jet Li.
Oh,
Really? Oh.
And how did I? Yeah. I was thinking, oh my God, we're going to be on in a short time. What's my movie? And I don't. Again, why did it pop into my head? I do not know. But I thoroughly enjoy that movie. Subtitle version, not the English. Correct myself. No subtitles. It was just. So when I saw it first, it was without benefit of English.
That's 2002, I believe, right?
Say what?
I'm trying to pull it up here. Okay.
Probably.
Oh, right. It was phenomenal.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Cinema. Have you seen it, Clark?
Yes, a couple of times. Yeah, good one.
More than two. More the cinematography.
You can't watch that
palette,
film.
The choreography,
What?
the music, the martial arts, everything about it.
Yeah.
Everything about it. I mean, you can pause every 1 minute and have a frame that if you could print it out and put it on your wall, it would be. It's yes.
Yeah.
So
That's
see,
a good
I channeled.
You must have. You must
Yes.
have.
Yes.
So I'll.
Tom has a movie. It's The Celestine Prophecy.
Oh, Tom, why does that sound familiar? When
Yeah.
did that come out, Tom?
I've heard it, but I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Me neither.
Tell us.
No.
Give us a not an elevator. Give us a slug line on that, Tom.
Yeah,
Celestine
please.
Prophecy. Anna, you have a movie? Michael? Pano?
Oh, Michael does. Come on.
Yeah, Michael. Everyone has. All right, I will give you mine by the time. Has
Okay.
anyone? Do you speak French? I think Denise, you know some French, right? How do you say Merry Christmas in French?
Yeah,
I'm not good in.
Joyeux Noël.
Yes, that is.
Joyeux.
That's
Joyeux.
so
Yeah.
that's
Joyeux
the yes.
And that's the name of the
The
film.
movie. Yes, I
Okay.
think it's 2000. I don't remember. 5, 6. Have you seen that movie? It's a French movie.
Joyful
No,
noise. Is it joyful noise or two? No, that's a different one. Joyful.
No. Merry Christmas. It's but in French, Joyeux Noël
Joyeux Noël.
by Christian Caron.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's about a true history event that happened in the First World War at the Western Front, when on Christmas Day the Scottish, French, and German troops made truce for 1 day.
I have a problem with that too, by the way, but that's for a whole different stream.
Yeah, okay. Keep that.
And thank you, Nick, because what popped into my head was what I will reveal next week as my favorite movie, because wow, and then we're going way back. But anyway, so thank you for that.
Take notes. You're welcome. Anytime.
I better write it down.
Anytime.
Lest I forget.
Ariel?
Anna. Oh, and Mike. Give me a second. We'll bring you up. And so it's a real-time, real history event. They made truce. They celebrated Christmas all together. They played football together.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day, they have to bomb each other to hell.
What they should have done is take the wrapping paper and get bombs and take them back to the commanders and the politicians and give them presents.
I agree. So let's see Mike's.
Whiplash.
Michael, Whiplash. Whiplash is a hell of a movie.
Can't quite recall it.
A young drummer who goes at a musical school and has a very strict.
Oh yeah.
Essentially, he thinks that I will press you to the end of your abilities and beyond, because that's why you will be the best you can. So.
Yeah.
Ringing a bell. That was several years ago. Years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it won an Oscar. Definitely the guy who I don't remember his name. I should, but I don't.
J.K. Simons, I think.
Yes. He took an Oscar, and maybe the movie too. And Tana just hit it home in my heart. Mar Adentro.
No.
Mar Adentro. It's one of the movies I will never, ever get out of my top 3.
So we're going to have this list, Clark. You typing this up so it'll show up at the.
Yes, Mar Adentro with Javier Bardem, and it touches an issue that is very close to my heart about euthanasia. He was diving. That's a real story, by the way. He had an accident. He dived in not very deep waters, and he broke his neck, and he became tetraplegic. And after years, he wanted out. He says, I can't take it anymore. I want out. But there is no legal way to exit. So that movie challenges and that issue. Thank you, Anna, for reminding that movie.
Yes.
Oh, Ford is in the house. Ford.
Hey.
Was that?
So
let me interrupt a second here. Anna, was that yours, the Mara Dento?
Yes, it was hers.
So we are going into that now. Ford, I was leaving best for the last. What is Ford is alluding to is the following. Oh, before, let's have Clark your movie, and then we'll get into WordPress.
Yeah, what is your movie, Clark? Let's.
Well,
Sure.
everybody's so sophisticated and meaningful. I'll type it Fight Club.
Oh, yes.
The second
Excellent.
rule.
Excellent.
Second rule of two guys and a girlie. I mean that's got to be as frequently appropriated as say hello to my little friend. The rules of Fight Club.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What's not to like?
Fight Club.
Oh, that was.
Mara Dentro, yes, and Fight
Yep.
Club. So
Excellent.
let's go into what Ford is saying. So essentially, what happened? I don't know if you've noticed that when you're opening a blank post page at WordPress, there is a prompt appearing in your writing space that may say, "What are your thoughts about eating popsicles or wearing shorts in winter, or what? Tell me two things you're good in it." Have you noticed that, Clark and Denise?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Denise,
I
yes.
forget the one today. What can you do less with or
Okay.
something?
Exactly.
And it's not only that, Ford, it's not only that question, but what I had written the other day in the post about just copying the code, the way I've always done it. First part, I come down, just pop in the code. No, it decides to place it and split it. It's just weird. It's just weird. And it's really irritating. It's
And
irritating.
for the others who might not be familiar,
Oh,
that's WordPress.com, the free
Yes.
WordPress site blogging stuff.
It's the host that provides us our blogs essentially and the tools to create them and maintain them. Were you using the blog editor, Denise, or the classic editor?
Oh, a classic.
Still it messed up with the links.
Well, of course it did. This is all new stuff. Like Ford mentioned in your post, Ford, that was really good. Those questions, because as soon as I read that at your post, it's like, yeah, I kind of took it for granted because of just the way things have been lately. Wow, that's weird. That's strange. And then I forget about it. Read that, and then it's like, yeah, every single time, man. Every single time. There's some stupid question. And then the code thing for the first time last week, that's when it happened for the first time where, okay, no, now I have to put it insert into blank screen so it doesn't mess everything else up. But that's the way it is. So to get people to use that block thing, which I have no interest in.
No.
Who does?
But apart from the block thing, that prompt into the writing space, I will let it rip, as Ford said, and I don't know if I am going to be as polite as him. I mean, it's effing stupid. It's unnecessary. It's intruding my workspace, as Ford very well put it. I have my workspace. I don't need you to post a prompt in my workspace. I'm there to work. I'm
in the editor. Oh, you're right.
You're opening a page to write a new post
in the dashboard. Yeah.
Yeah, you open the new post page, and you.
Wait a minute. So when I open in Classic,
it appears,
so I do the
When you start typing, it disappears. They have clarified that because I immediately contacted support also to tell them it's stupid, it's unnecessary.
Oh, it does disappear. Yeah.
Yes, and they said yes, we agree. It's a divisive feature, even among us. We are working on the code to create an option for you to deactivate it. But as soon as as soon as you start typing, it disappears. They name it. It's only a placeholder. The problem I have with this is this. First of all, I don't need any distractions when I am sitting in front of my blank WordPress page to start writing because it distracts me. Even if it disappears when I start typing, I have seen it. I have read that stupid question that says, what's your opinion about eating meat? Okay. The other problem I have is that it's not as innocent as it might look, and I come from a point that says that I love WordPress. Okay, I have a very high opinion of them, but I'm sensing they are starting to go the Google and Facebook way, and this has to do about the data they are collecting about from our behavior and our reaction to prompts, to usage of product. And that's essentially is the surveillance capitalism. Zsuzhanna Zuboff has determined as the unilateral mining of data of our use of the services offered without our consent. And then they take this data, they package it, they analyze it, and they sell it to businesses that are interested in using that behavioral data to put it into artificial intelligence and decide and shape what we do soon, and what we will do later. Okay? So this, for me, hints towards that direction. That's why I really was pissed about it, because it's not just a way to make me right. They already have.
Oh, hell no.
they have prompt challenges already, weekly challenges, monthly challenges at the WordPress blog, where you can participate if you're feeling lack of inspiration. But to have this in my blank page as I'm trying to write, for me, it's a very, let's say, unnecessary, and that's the most polite way word I can use right now.
It's funny too, because they, as far as I know, were the main reason that Fed supported the growth of blogs back in the day, along with who's the other guys that nobody liked, Blogger. And all. But they produced them. I bet you the numbers will show they produced most of the blogs, or WordPress was used to produce most of the blogs we see today, except, in the last, 10 years, you get Foursquare and a couple of other products that come up and say, hey, we can sell you a thing for you to build websites. And so I'll bet you WordPress that we know is good for what we used it for, but not so good to compete, to sell to somebody who wants to build like a whole website, get into the whole developer thing. So that block editor, the Hemingway thing, is just like they figure, all right, now we can compete with the other guys, and they're just trying to annoy us off the platform. Even though some stat I saw was WordPress in the early years accounted for huge percentage, majority of this kind of thing, this blogs and sites like that, because it was a one use. I mean, I didn't care about site. I wanted a place to write and publish. And I guess the accountants say, no, the real money's in website building. So, and I noticed they're trying to push us out in a Ruggieri, and it's not my fault you guys want it this way, because the only way that I could see, there used to be a plugin for a classic editor, which was check the fine print. The fine print is only with an upgrade, and the upgrade is to business, which is like freaking $40 a month. Check your next time you go back there. See,
I only use the classic editor, and I'm not in business plan. Maybe because I'm many years there. I have what they call a legacy plan that doesn't exist. That I pay a yearly fee, but not. It seems free, but it's not free. I pay a yearly fee.
Okay.
But what for the thing? Since if it's completely free, I can have many demands, although I would argue against that. But since we are paying, the intrusion in our workspace, essentially in our minds, is not welcome. And I think what me and Ford did, and everyone else that might did it, to contact them is a significant step, because we have to voice our opinion one way or the other. Otherwise,
I took the doctrine out of, I started on .com, WordPress.com, and then at a certain point, I didn't like all of the ads and stuff, but so I went self-hosting with that. And sure, it's some money, $100 a year to do that. But I've also got like 6 or 7, all of my stories still in .com. So I got to migrate them over before something bad and get them off of the platform entirely. And what the hell?
We'll see. And let's see what Ford says. Ford says WordPress users need to wake up and report the ass off that stupid prompt. Worked best in the early years when it was simple and user-friendly. Now it's a big dog's breakfast. Yep.
Dog's breakfast? Dude, what is that? I've never heard that. No, is that like a continental thing? A dog's breakfast.
Big dog's breakfast.
That's a
really?
Peaky Blinder thing.
You knew of that
That's
one?
a Peaky Blinder thing.
Oh, okay. No, I had not. Nice expression.
Let it rip, Ford. Let it rip.
So, okay. Speaking of dogs, don't let me stop this. I need to excuse myself from the proceedings.
Okay. Glad you made it today, Clark. Always.
Yes.
For joining us.
True. Okay.
And you, Nick.
Oh.
I enjoyed myself. I take it we're gonna do a wrap.
Well, no. I can
Not
leave you
necessarily.
guys the
Not
screen
necessarily.
if you want to continue on. I just
I have to exit the platform as well.
Okay. Either it's only me or let's wrap it up. Okay. We continue next week.
Do we have any rapation?
No.
Any what?
Any rapation? A formal form of
A formal.
Whatever we do each week.
Just I'd like to thank everyone today. This was really fun. I enjoyed it. I hope we'll see you next week. Hear from you.
Yeah, in fact, maybe next week we'll do a survey, just the idea of what times are good for people, because we're dealing, half a planet. So if we look to see where time zones are within the realm of adjusting, or I'm happy to adjust my time frame.
But so far, so good. So far, so good. But if there are any suggestions, we might use them.
Yeah, certainly.
How much minutes? How many? Do you have 2 minutes, Clark? Or you have to go immediately?
I have 2 minutes because.
Okay, 2 minutes. Quick story. There is a guy who is a tourist who goes at UK. And upon his visit, he buys a guide that says a book about the castles and isles of Britain. And one of the advertisements caught his attention that says, this will be the visit of your life at our castle. There is no entrance fees paid in advance. You only have to book in advance time and day. And he was intrigued by that, and he booked a place at that castle. Several days later, he shows up at the castle a bit late. There is a guy there who was in a Highland attire, a Highlander. He welcomes him. He starts to explain the history of the castle and the multiple rooms it has. And so the gentleman says, I'm sorry I'm late, but has the rest of the group gone inside already? He says, no, there is no other. Each visit is personal. We do not provide a tour guide. The only thing we ask of you is while you tour the castle to hold this spoon with sand with you. So the sand in this spoon is exactly 100 grams. We will weigh the sand remaining upon your exit, and for every gram missing, you will pay £1. So the gentleman finds that amusing and says, okay, but if there is no sand missing from the spoon, then it will be free of charge. Okay. He decides to entertain them, takes the spoon with the sand, enters the castle. He wants to go in the map room, but there are open windows. He's afraid that the wind will blow his sand away. He sees the armory from outside. Again, careful not to spill any sand. He goes down to the dungeons. Too dark to go down there. Nope. Goes back up and goes out at the exit. He goes to the Highlander and says, gives the spoon. He weighs the sand. He says, perfect, as you predicted. Only half a gram missing. You did a perfect job. No, you won't pay a thing. But let me ask you one thing. Have you enjoyed your visit? And so the gentleman said, to be honest, not exactly, because I was very mindful of not spilling any sand during my visits. So I didn't enjoy what the castle had to offer me. The Highlander looked at him and said, I'll make you a deal. I will give you again a spoon of sand because, stipulations, regulations, and everything. But don't worry about the sand. It's on us. Carry it, but don't worry about the sand. Enjoy your tour. But you only have 12 minutes. Okay? Okay. So the guy goes in the castle, he looks at the clock, goes in the map room, looks at the map, says, I have to go to the armory. Goes to the armory, runs to the dungeon, slips over, all the sand is missing. He doesn't care. He won't pay a thing. 2 minutes left. Let me go back to the ballroom. 12 minutes, he goes out. Again, he goes to the Highlander, and he says, no worries about the sand, that there's not any in the spoon. A deal is a deal. You won't pay anything. But tell me one thing. Did you enjoy your tour at the castle? The gentleman said, kind of, but I was too in a hurry because of the time limit. And I was running from a room to watch, to see everything. So essentially, no, I don't really enjoy it. So the Highlander just opens his pipe, lights it up, and he says to him, look, there are 3 types of people that take a tour at the castle of their lives. The first ones are the ones who believe that their tour in their lives or the castle of their lives will be free of charge. And they do anything they can to prevent any cost during their tour of their castle. But they end up enjoying nothing. The second kind of people are those who are in so much hurry to see everything and experience everything that in the process they lose everything. And they end up not enjoying anything in their lives. And there are the third kind of people who know that there is an occurring fee on whatever they do, but they take their time and they experience everything that happens in front of them, knowing that although there will be a cost for what they're doing, it's a cost worth having because it means you actually are alive. So that's my outro. See you next week, our friends. Thank you for being with us. It's an honor to have you with us and have your attention and
thank you, Anna.
And company.
So
see you next week. See you next week.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
Yep. Next Sunday, 2:30. I will be seeing you two and everyone else. Thank you.
Bye-bye.